As you know, I've been talking on this YouTube channel about Aduro Clean Technologies for quite some time, and the opportunity is almost too good to be true. But I don't think that many people understand the details about what is happening because there's a lot of moving parts. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you the part that people are missing the most. This is the investor presentation, page 16 and page 17. These are the two most important parts. And you've seen this before. We've focused around that number, 95 million of EBITDA by 2027, 2028. But what people don't understand, investors don't understand very well, is this part here. Initial commercial unit, okay? Revenue here of 14.3 million. This is all projections. This here is R3, or part of this revenue is R3, generating revenue, and part of it is continuous testing for clients. Now, these, when they are multiple commercial units, and then this number here, that's licensing, okay? But this one here is R3. So what am I talking about? Well, you know that they have R2 for bitumen and plastic, and they are in the middle of building R3. R3 is like a commercial unit. In other words, Aduro will own, whether you want to call it semi-commercial unit or commercial unit, and it will be generating revenue and profits from it. This will be an asset generating money. So in other words, when they arrive here, that's it. The company doesn't need the market anymore to raise capital, and it will generate significant money in comparison to the market cap. The market cap today, as I'm showing here, is less than 100 million. So what does this mean? Because this is not telling you the whole story, because this number, this revenue number, and then this EBITDA number includes running a public company. But the R3 is like an apartment building. You have an apartment building in a publicly traded company, and because the costs of a publicly traded company look like this apartment building is not a standalone asset, and R3 will be like a standalone asset. So if we look at these numbers here, okay, what they are building right now for themselves, not for somebody else, not a licensing, for themselves, it's R3, and it's pretty much this right here. And as you can see here, the Capex for a unit that does 25 tons per day or 8,500 tons annually, Capex for that is about 22.5 million. This is all in Canadian dollars. But this Capex number is charging someone else to build it. So for Aduro, this number is not going to be like 22 million. It's probably going to be closer to maybe, 13 million or 15 million, something like that. Because if they are charging somebody else, or they're being a developer for somebody else, of course they need to make money on this, right? So of course this is the price to somebody else. This is not the price to Aduro. So, but how much will it cost? How much will it generate? Well, if you look at this here, revenue, okay, for this unit is about $7.7 million. That's based on doing this many tons per year. So if I take this number and I go 7739 760 divided by 8,500. That's about 910 Canadian dollars per ton, okay? Keep this number in mind. This is the OPEX, okay? So if we take this number, 7.8 million minus 2.8, this generates gross margin or EBITDA of about $5 million, right? And what they're showing here is an owner of a unit like this would pay Aduro a licensing fee of 1.5, and then they would keep 3.3 million for themselves. But this R3 that they're building is for themselves. So there is no Aduro licensing fee. This entire thing is going into Aduro, right? So now you tell me, after they're finished with R3 and the R3 is generating almost $8 million of revenue and about $5 million of EBITDA, what is a unit like this worth? 5 million of EBITDA. Is it worth 50 million times 10? Probably more than that. Probably 20. So this unit alone should be worth about $100 million when built. So even though it shows here bundled with public company running costs, this unit has value on its own because it could be sold to somebody. So in 2025, 2026, when they are finished with R3, this R3 alone will be worth the entire market cap that the company has today. This doesn't include any licensing. This is one unit alone. One unit alone. That's what people don't understand. But now let's think about whether this model is even realistic, because this is very low bowling numbers. Now, this number assumes a few things. Because this projection was made for somebody else, this assumes that the price of a feedstock, they already have the feedstock. So if this is some kind of petrochemical company, they already have the feedstock, so they don't have to acquire the feedstock, right? They already have the feedstock, and then the OPEX is just to process that feedstock, right? Now, I'm going to play you one part of Mina talking when he did the interview with me.
Now, having said that, that is our primary focus, to work on licensing. But in the future, we are interested in having our own projects.
So first, here he talks about the licensing model, right? Which is this licensing model, right? Licensing model where somebody builds a unit, whether it's a unit 25 tons per day or 225 tons or whatever the number, there's a certain EBITDA generated by the project, and then Aduro gets a cut for licensing, and then the other stays with the owner of the unit, right? But he talks about how in the future they are interested in having their own units, their own operated units. But this unit number one, this R3, is their own unit, okay? And it's going to generate revenue and EBITDA, but also, it's going to show others what is possible, right? But this is their own unit.
What I do want to say is this model assumes that we're chasing the same feedstock, that cream of the crop that everybody else is chasing. That waste is actually quite expensive in the marketplace because everybody's looking for it, right? That less than 10% of that waste is basically, it's clean, it's sorted, it works perfectly with legacy approaches and equipment. It doesn't clog anything. They don't have any trouble operating on that waste. Everybody's looking for it. Hence why the price of that waste, it starts going to, right now around $200, $250 a ton, and there's still increased competition. So that market is evolving, and that waste is actually getting more expensive by the day. But our intention is to work on everything else that is rejected. But if we're operating our own machinery, we're aiming something closer to $50, if not less. In some cases, the material is going to be so complex where it has no other option. So we would essentially get paid by the customer or the person that has the feedstock to take it off their hand. It has to go to the landfill, which is costly. It has to be shipped from point A, B, and C. So there's a lot of margin to be added to these numbers that you see in front of you. But we didn't want to really dive into all of that complications.
Okay, so what he was talking about is that because of the type of feedstock that Aduro can work on, they can literally get paid for taking it. Okay, so this model here assumes that you are getting the feedstock for free, but today somebody pays a lot of money to have that feedstock that nobody can process shipped to another country. Okay, and in some countries they pay a big fee for not being able to recycle it. And here's when Eric was talking about this, that in some countries they are paying $1,000 of penalty per ton.
One very important thing is that extended producer responsibility will be an important instrument, which means that everybody who puts plastic in the market as a packaging material or as something else has to pay to deal with it. And that is a very important one. We have it actually in the Netherlands, my own country. Everybody who puts a ton of plastic out in the market, I think has to pay €1,000.
In his country, they are paying a penalty of $1,000 per ton. So imagine a situation where that entity is very motivated. So imagine a situation where Aduro can come in and say, let's split that $1,000, right? So we're gonna receive the 500, right? But you'll pay us 500 per ton. You don't have to pay 1,000, but we'll take care of it, right? We're splitting that. So in a unit like this, where it's 8,500 annual per ton, I'm gonna do 500, right? Because they were talking about €1,000. That's more than $1,000, but I'm just gonna use 1,000. That is an additional $4 million. Additional $4 million that this unit can generate on top of the 5 million. Okay? And now, this 4.2 million, that is US dollars. If I translate it into Canadian dollars, that's almost $6 million on top of that 5 million. So now we are talking about a unit that can do more than 10 million of EBITDA, right? The first R3. So what is 11 million of EBITDA worth? 200 million? 300 million? Just one R3, right? So this is the part that people don't understand, that when they reach this level, it's game over. They don't need the market anymore. Now, one other thing that I want to address is this revenue number here. So remember how I asked you to remember, this revenue divided by this is about $900 Canadian, right? Now let's listen to this part from Eric again.
I have in my interactions with customers and other sources, I hear concern that some of these waste recycling technologies are just too cumbersome and expensive. And to give you a little bit of a dollar perspective on it, if you're really lucky, you would get your waste for free. But then it has to be hauled and it has to be sorted and maybe it has to be washed and you make a little bit of wastewater, all that sort of thing. And then, yeah, at this moment we have some niche markets for recycled waste, but in the long run we are up against base petrochemicals. Petrochemical feedstock is typically about $600 a ton.
So this one is very important. Petrochemical feedstock, which is the product after the plastic is recycled, right? Because they take it in and then they turn it into a petrochemical product that can be sold, right? That's where the revenue is generated. So he talked about how the existing technologies that are out there, they're having a problem because they can the petrochemical feedstock is about $600, right? So that's the revenue per ton. So $600 times 1.37, which is Canadian, that's about 822. For Aduro here, they have about 900. Why 900? Well, because not all petrochemical is priced the same. The 822 is average, right? So this 900, it's in line with what he's saying. But he's also saying that the other technologies have a problem because their revenue is about 822 Canadian, but I'm going to talk about US 600, what he was saying. But so they're playing with 600, but their feedstock, they have to acquire that feedstock because they can only process, the other technologies can only process the best of the best feedstock, the top 10%. For that kind of feedstock, they have to pay money. So they have to pay money, maybe 100, 200 per ton, right? They can only charge 600, but then what about processing it? It's expensive. So the players in the industry are learning that the other technologies have a problem. Where with Aduro, they're not going after the 10% feedstock that they have to pay $200 for. They're going after the feedstock that's contaminated. And that feedstock, nobody else can touch. And that feedstock, right now, can be acquired for free. Or, even more, they can pay Aduro to get it because nobody else can get it. So competitors have to pay $200 per ton for feedstock. They can only sell it for $600 US, where Aduro doesn't have to pay the $200. Aduro gets paid to take it. Nobody else can get it for free, but Aduro gets paid to take it. So because Aduro can get paid to take it, this number here is a lot bigger. That 5 million of EBITDA, this is in Canadian dollars, it's a lot bigger, okay? And you can look at it like, how much bigger? Well, he's talking about how in his country, they are paying $1,000 per ton. So you can make a deal with somebody like this and be like, let's split that $1,000. But that's the penalty. That's what's written. Now, just because there is no penalty right now, let's say in the US, well, there's still cost because they have to ship it to a different country. So you can come to those people and say, we can take your feedstock that nobody else can take, and we can save you, instead of shipping it across the country, paying for the landfill to take it, we can take it for you, and you're going to only pay us maybe the entire thing that it cost you, or maybe part of it, what it cost you to ship it, we can take it from you. But you know what? Your image is going to be great because now you can go to the media and you can say that, look, we're recycling, right? We're the good guys. So the bottom line about this is that this is very important here, and people don't understand this. That R3 that they're building, at a minimum, it would generate, according to these projections, $5 million of EBITDA if the feedstock was free. But if Aduro gets paid to take that feedstock, then this number can be much bigger than 5 million, might be closer to 10 million, making this one unit worth multiples the current market cap, and this doesn't even include what this company can do by bringing in licensing revenue. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it makes you understand the investment thesis a little bit more. With that being said, thanks for watching.